So UKAD will not release any information on boxers that have T.U.Es, those who have had them before, and those who are currently applying for T.U.Es. That means we never really know who is legally juicing in this country and in world boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Remstar Says So. So let's get into this one. A channel that I follow very heavily for at least the last year, maybe 18 months, however long they've been going, recently wrote to UKAD asking them for a full list of all the fighters that they have that currently have T.U.E exemptions, who had them previously, and who's currently in the process for T.U.Es. For those of you who don't know, a T.U.E is a therapeutic use exemption. Basically, what that means is that if UKAD grants you a T.U.E, you are then free to go and take whichever anabolic steroid or hormone or testosterone or any kind of thing that you would usually get pulled up and banned for. UKAD give you an exemption to take it. There's been a lot of talks on T.U.Es recently, and the main reason why is because Anthony Joshua has been at the forefront of this. Dillian White said a few weeks back that AJ had T.U.Es, and I think Jarrell Big Baby Miller sort of led towards that as well. The thing is that usually when certain things happen, like, if anybody says anything about AJ, Eddie Hearn is usually up in arms, but there's never actually been any word on it. And maybe that's the reason why. I mean, AJ's not going to fail a drugs test if he has a T.U.E, just because, UKAD have allowed it. And I'm not just coming down on AJ on this one. Obviously, Luis King Kong Ortiz, he was on high blood pressure medication, and whichever governing body he was going through in America, because I understand that there's quite a few, obviously, because the States is such a big country, they had given him an exemption for the high blood pressure tablets that he was taking that supposedly had this and that in it. The fact is, especially in a sport like boxing, is that there's so many things that can sting you. I saw a video a little bit earlier today with O'Hara Davis on IFL TV, and he said one time he had a cold and he took Lemsip, and he said that he's glad that he took Lemsip and not Lemsip Max, because there's a substance or a chemical or whatever the fuck it is in Lemsip Max which is on the banned list. And this is actually crazy. How many times have I taken Lemsip Max over the years when I'm not feeling too great, and I want to recover a little bit quicker, so I buy the stronger dose shit. And apparently, according to O'Hara Davis, something in Lemsip Max is on the banned substance list. So if I was a professional athlete and I had a cold and I was trying to sort of recover for a fight, and I unknowingly went to the shops and bought Lemsip Max because you want to recover as quickly as possible, you have supposedly broken the law, and you're going to get popped dirty for something you have no control over. One thing I think some of these governing bodies, they need to do is I would recommend that they get involved with all of the sort of supplements companies, and they go through and rigorously test all of them, and then maybe they should get involved with like sort of either selling them themselves or putting a stamp of approval on them, so that way if a fighter gets done for anything, that fighter should only be taking the supplements that are like sort of, I don't know, UKAD or WADA or VADA sort of approved. That way there should be less sort of incidents where people get popped dirty, and a guy like Canelo Alvarez, who was definitely juicing, can go on and say that he ate beef with clenbuterol, even though most people know that Canelo Alvarez is 90% vegetarian. He just happened to be back home in Mexico and just happened to go to a steakhouse. But it's widely known that he's 90% vegetarian all year round. But he just couldn't resist that juiced up cow that day and needed a steak or a cheeseburger or whatever it was. So yeah, I think it's a bit strange that UKAD will not sort of let it be known who has TUEs. Dillian White said he knows for sure, and being in the matchroom camp for pretty much his entire boxing career, maybe he's got a point. Maybe he knows this. Obviously, Jarrell Big Baby Miller, he's been part of that matchroom setup for about a year, 18 months as well. And I guess Big Baby Miller's probably praying and wishing that he had got himself a TUE, because he could have been able to pop and take as many different steroids as he wanted to if he had got approval to take it. Personally, I think that TUEs is a load of bollocks, in my opinion. I don't think that you should be given any sort of therapeutic use exemption. I mean, if your arm is hurting, or I don't know, let's say for example, if your testosterone is low, you shouldn't be fighting. Like that's it. If you are not fit and healthy to climb in the ring and try and dismember somebody on your own accord, you shouldn't be taking any sort of boost to take it. To get to where you need to be. I personally think that there shouldn't be any sort of use exemptions. I think you should either be clean or you should be dirty. I actually said the other day that maybe what we should do is we should have a second division for people that want to take whatever the hell they want to take, similar to weightlifting, professional bodybuilding. You have two different criteria. You have clean bodybuilding criteria, and then you have the people that go on to sort of take as many steroids as they want to. I guess it's a different sort of kettle of fish, because in a professional boxing ring, any sort of steroids that you might take could actually lead to you seriously injuring somebody or possibly even killing them. Whereas if you're competing in a professional sort of bodybuilding competition, the only thing that steroids is going to do is improve your physique, but you're not actually hurting anybody, you're not throwing punches, you're not taking shots to the head, all that sort of thing. But yeah, I would love to see who has TUEs. I've got my sort of idea of who might be on that list. I've got my idea of people who might have applied. But we're never going to know, unfortunately, because UKAD won't release the list. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think is on there? Who do you think might have had them in the past? And what do you think of like the sort of PED/steroid issues that are going on in boxing? I heard Eddie Hearn talking a lot the other day about how it's rife in America. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just as bad in England, but maybe just not as sort of talked about. Because obviously when it comes to the biggest fights, there's a lot of sort of steroid testing, but maybe some of the smaller fights, especially when it's not for world titles, maybe people just aren't getting tested and they're just like, fuck it, it is what it is. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment. That's the end of the show, because Remstar says so.